Y'all remember how Pat showed up at Gavin's job, chased him out of there, and then he sped out of the parking lot and the truck hit him? And Why Did I Get Married Too? Well, what if that never happened?
Do you think that Gavin and Pat could have eventually gotten back together or at least managed to be cordial if Gavin hadn't met his end while fighting during their divorce?
I'm Heit.
And I'm Cheri.
And you've discovered Axiom Amnesia.
We want to thank all of the supporters who helped to make this video possible. If you want your name to appear alongside these contributors, make a one-time donation via Cash App, or you can head on over to patreon.com/axiomamnesia to enjoy all of the benefits of becoming a monthly subscriber.
As always, there will be spoilers.
Yes, but if for some reason maybe you haven't seen the movie, and you just want to fantasize with us about I guess this is almost like another fan fiction on this movie. Well, actually, the last one we did was on the first movie, talking about Sheila and Troy, and what if it was really Troy and Trina, since they were first to hook up together. But don't worry about it. As long as you've seen the movie, you'll feel great on the discussion. And if not, you could still listen, or you can hop off the call. So let's talk about what happens at the end of the movie. We all know that at this year's marriage retreat in this movie, in Why Did I Get Married Too, Patricia and Gavin actually Patricia announces that they're getting divorced. And then everything spirals downhill. And during the film, we see them fight and they argue. And Patricia is, in her lowest place, and she tears up the house and stuff like that. And he comes in to try to get his stuff. He breaks in the house, and it's just a whole mess. And so it all culminates toward the end of the movie with Patricia showing up after Gavin has taken and moved money from the account or whatever. Patricia showing up at his job with a giant birthday cake, out of which a person hops out of the birthday cake, and she was calling, she was like, "You ain't a man," and all this other stuff, and really antagonizing him at his architecture firm. He's so upset and mad, he practically runs out of the place, and she's chasing him, calling after him, talking about him, "You ain't gonna take my money," and then he hops in the car, and then bam, a truck just slams right into him as soon as he pulls out of the parking lot, and in the most dramatic of ways or whatever. And so then, Tyler Perry has us hold on for a couple of minutes while we see if he's going to make it. And they go to the hospital, with the other couples, and everybody's waiting to see. And then, of course, we get the scene that transitions to them being on the beach and, spreading his ashes or whatever. So we know that Gavin did not make it. But we wanted to talk about, well, what if we rewind and this accident did not happen? Things are still bad. They're still planning to get a divorce. But could they have actually worked things out? What would that have looked like if Gavin hadn't just met his end in this situation? Let's say he pulls off and he screeches off and he makes it home, right?
Well, all she had to do was give him what was due to him, and then that would have been it. She was hiding money and stuff, and then she got mad and ran over there.
So the big issue is that Patricia did not want to share her, quote, book money.
She didn't want to share their money.
Yes. Money that had come into her account separately, that she had off to the side from books from a book, the books, multiple books, whatever that she had written during the marriage. Go to the comments. Do y'all think that she should have shared her book money? Did she owe him half of the book money? He said that he helped with some of the concepts. She was bouncing stuff off, of him. But even if she hadn't, do you think that he deserved half of the book money? Let us know.
Yeah.
So let us walk through kind of what this would look like. There's one scenario that I see where maybe, they're all angry and they're upset, and, then they come to the table again for the divorce, the finalizing of everything, money and all that stuff. And they're, whatever, they're over it. They're still mad. And then some time passes, and maybe they run into each other somehow, and they sit down for a coffee.
Why do they have to run into each other?
Because they're not going to just be seeing each other every day and just in each other's lives like they care.
Maybe he still goes on this little yearly excursion.
Well, and that was going to be one of my questions. No matter what, is everything over with the marriage retreats after Gavin, goes to the upper room? Is everything over with the marriage retreats even if Gavin makes it?
Oh.
Just because they break up, right?
Mm.
All the rest of the other couples, what happens with them? Do they just have to seek therapy elsewhere? They probably should.
Yeah, I don't even think this was for therapy. That was just her doing an experiment on her closest friends.
We have talked extensively about that part and just how she was the last one who really should have been been doing much of anything.
Right. Or just not involved, right? Because her own relationship was a part of it too. So if, it maybe she could possibly be a little more objective, even though not, right? But she could be a little more objective if these do continue, because she's not trying to put on the facade of her relationship unless the Rock show up. But if as long as she goes along and then it's just the other couples and she just sit there and observe, like the Stanford the prison
the
experiments.
Stanford prison experiments. So I mean, really,
that's basically what this was like. She was just like manipulating the experiment.
So how do you think their divorce would affect the dynamic of their friend group, right? Because if he made it, they still would be friends. Okay. Mostly though, I feel like the girls would get together separately and the guys would get together separately. And maybe they would get together as couples sometimes, but I think how would it affect the friend group? We saw, right? Even when they were going through it, it was kind of like the women supported her
they
and the men
should have put them together,
him.
right? Like in part 1, because Angela would have had beef with Gavin during their breakup because the shenanigans he was doing, right? Breaking in the house and all this other stuff, right? So I think she would have took a clear side.
That's interesting that even in what we saw, like we didn't see Angela like jump out of bag about Gavin and him break. Girl, no, he didn't break in. No, he, and he know he wrong. That's your money. Whatever Angela would have maybe said.
But was she there when they was crying on the steps?
Yeah.
Oh,
Angela, all of them were there. All 3 of them were there to support her. Now, mind you, all 3 of them were going through it in their own marriages, Sheila and Angela and Diane.
Angela is always so.
But yeah, Angela's always, going back and forth with some stuff. So, but I don't really think it would have affected the friend dynamic that was the same gender friend dynamic. But how do they all come together? I just wanted to jump in here to encourage you to join our free Patreon tier. Yes, we have premium paid memberships on Patreon and YouTube channel members who get exclusive content, early releases, and other perks. But we are now also offering a free Patreon membership tier where you will get videos that are not offered to the general public on YouTube, where you get to watch the full movie along with us in our commentary. If you like what you see, you can join one of our paid membership tiers later, or you can just remain as a free member with no strings attached. This free Patreon membership does not give you access to all of the paid exclusive content and early releases that our premium Patreon and YouTube channel members enjoy, but we wanted a way to offer you a better viewing experience without many of the restrictions that we have on this platform. So come on over and join us on Patreon. The link is in the description. It's easy and free to join. You can simply log in with your Google or existing social media accounts and begin enjoying Axiom Amnesia's Patreon. Now back to the show. Let's just say that Diane and Terry want to celebrate their anniversary, their 15-year anniversary, 20 years, whatever.
Then I guess everybody show up, right? Because if the men are all friends, then I would think his friends would show up.
Does Mike show up? So just imagine what a messy situation that would be. Because you got Mike, who would still be there with Sheila and Troy.
So
right?
Does it not happen often now?
I don't think they
like
all
in
got
real
together.
life. No, I'm talking about in real life. People break up and then I guess they have friends, right?
I think it's unusual to have
you just can't
such
continue
a cohesive
to have
friend
the friend. No, not even just somebody who became your friend because they are married to whatever.
Yeah, there's no way that it doesn't affect the friend group that is the the co-ed friend group.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it would have been affected anyway. It was affected anyway when you think about Mike, right? Because we saw that between the first and the second movie. Because in the first movie, you know, Mike and Sheila were married or whatever. And then, of course, Mike leaves Sheila for Trina. And then Sheila and Troy get together. So by the second movie, we have Sheila and Troy as a couple. And Mike is like the fifth wheel, if you will.
He's not. At the award show, when it's not this is a couples thing, then when the men hang out, the ones who are friends hang out, and Troy doesn't.
That's true.
Because he is not their friend, really.
But by the time the second movie came out, Troy was with them. Kind of, I think.
Kinda,
well, maybe.
little.
I don't know. He was getting to know him.
But see, we only knew that they showed up on the trip, right? Mike showed up on a trip, which is a couples thing, which is different, right? And then Troy was there. He wasn't really talking. And then your boy come up, and then Terry is just all like giggling with him and stuff, right? So yeah,
and maybe it depends on the new friend or
and
the
your
old
boy,
versus the old friend.
He was in his room when they went on a boat.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So they weren't all the way friends. So yeah, so you're sticking with your same gender friend that, you know, Mike didn't stop being their friend just because. Yeah, and that did add to the messiness because as they were running their mouths on that boat, that kicked up a lot of stuff too. So, you know, but back to Pat and Gavin. So
he
then
was around too much.
Who?
So why did Mike go to the award show?
Because he was their friend.
Whose friend? Not the recipient.
He was a friend of the husband.
You know
I guess.
what I'm saying?
He was part of the group.
No, you don't. That's
just because they
different.
broke up, he was part of the group. My thought, though,
it's not a group event. It's a group honoring this one lady. I don't know how close they were.
I think he doesn't get invited to the group after what he did at the dinner table. You're done.
Well, I'm just talking about from the woman's perspective, right?
That's what I mean, right?
Pat.
Because the women are not friends.
Yeah,
with
that's
Mike
what I'm
the
saying.
same
So
way,
how
right?
he just showing up at this event?
Man, so with Pat and Gavin, I just wonder. All right, so Gavin isn't there. They they go through their divorce. They're divorced now, and is there? You know, what's up with the friend group? Like, is the friend group still around? Do each of them start bringing their own new people in? Does The Rock show up to the next marriage retreat if there is one? Y'all go to the comments and tell us how this goes. You know, is there a marriage retreat? Maybe she stops focusing on marriage because the book that she wrote in the end wasn't about marriage.
Yeah,
the book
that was
she wrote
because
was about the
it was
individual.
about grief because she killed him. So she wouldn't have had the fame from that book. So The Rock ain't coming, right?
Maybe
because he came because he was grieving over his wife or something, right?
Or and he would have never read the book, so she never gets The Rock, which you know, we talked about in one of the other videos. No, ma'am, you do not deserve The Rock.
She should have just got JD.
You shouldn't have got nobody. You did, well, that's a good reference since she did actually. Janet Jackson did actually date him, but yeah. So I think that we just so much we don't get all of that. But let's go back to the question of, do you think they could have reconciled Pat and Gavin? They get divorced and whatever. It's all bitter. But then at some point,
you start busting in doors and stuff. And tearing up stuff with golf club.
And
ain't no reconciling.
Choking on her and stuff and acting all crazy.
Yeah, like no. Maybe if something before, but if she just like, yeah, here's the money, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of, so what was that movie where, Waiting to Exhale, right? Mm-hmm. It's basically the reverse of that, kind of.
Which part?
He had hidden money or hidden property and stuff. Yeah, I just found out about that. But yeah, all she had to do is just give him what was due to him.
All right, so let's look at that scenario. So she comes and she thinks about it and, the divorce is final and everything. But she's like, I realized that Gavin, you know how it is. Like after some period, maybe she just started missing him. When she realized what it's like to be in that quiet house and just had time to calm down.
No, she tried to get over. She can't. She don't seek therapy, so she don't get over the what happened with the child.
Right.
So getting back with him will be a reminder.
Until she gets
so she avoids
some type
them.
of therapy.
Yeah.
That's a good point. All right, so let's say she works on herself, because she tries to get over it. Because I truly think, it was that. I think that was the insurmountable mountain to climb, was the idea that he blamed her for their child's, death. Because if you recall, the child died in a car accident with her where she was driving, and it was a rainy day or whatever, and she had forgotten to buckle the child into the car seat or something. And so, the outcome of the accident was the child did not make it. And so this all comes out at the dinner table in the first movie that, he came to Mike and he was, crying or whatever after the baby had, not made it, and said, like she just was stupid, or how could she be that stupid, or something like that. Right. And so this is one of those things that was never, obviously Gavin never meant for her to know, never meant for it to come out. And I think it was truly something that Gavin just uttered in the moment of his grief, right? Like, I don't think it was something he carried forward where he was like, I actively blame you. I think in the moment where you're going through grief, that was just a little bit of grace he should have been given to experience probably the most horrible thing that ever would happen to him in his life. And so, but the thing is, once she knew, I just felt like that was the thing that broke them up. She was never going to be able to let that go. And even before she knew, she was already having problems. Somebody in the comments had pointed out on one of the other videos we did recently that how he was like, you basically, you don't love me, you just tolerate me. And, they were saying how they just felt that his pain in the moment where he was expressing how she had treated him since then. Because, part of their bickering and fights that happened in the first movie was how she didn't want to look at the baby's picture. And, she was acting like the child didn't exist and she didn't bring up the child and whatever. And so part of her process of really not fully dealing with her grief was the avoidance, right? So she didn't want the subject brought up. She didn't want to talk about it. And surely she blamed herself. So to find out that he blamed her too was probably just too much. And I think that unless and until she could reconcile that, there's no way they get back together. No way at all. But let's say that she gets a little therapy and then she realizes her part in the breakup of her marriage, right? Which is that her grief and the way she dealt with it isolated her husband, or, made it hard for them to be able to kind of interact the way that they should have. And then when they fought, they were really, really angry at each other about way more than just we are splitting up, So they see each other at the coffee shop or something like that,
Maybe
hey,
so, yeah. So the thing is, it would have to be her because she was the one who wanted to get a divorce.
He didn't want the divorce.
He didn't even know. She just all of a sudden just popped out, really. Because I think that they allude to them deciding that they're going to be a divorce. They're going to divorce, but not announce it, right? But I think it was just more she just came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel more like she just kind of, and maybe they had like broached the subject at some point, but nothing was really
but she just
talked about
made
it.
the
She
decision.
just like, because he's like, you just decided and you didn't announce it. And you can see how when she says it, that it's just like, what the heck are you even talking about, And so if you look at their chances of getting back together, I think the chances are slim. But if it happens after all the work that Patricia does on herself. And I think for him to be open to that, two things got to happen. One, he has to not have moved on. And two, she has to give them some of that money. I think that, because I think that meant something that, like, he connected that money to how she viewed their marriage, you know? And she was going to have to give up some of that money. So I think maybe if she came with a peace offering of like, look, I really thought about it, and I think that.
Well, you don't have to give it up if you get married, but or maybe she could be like, I'm not going to have my stuff off to the side.
Maybe. So I don't know. I think his chances are slim because so much water was under the bridge. But it's it could be possible. But
yeah, but even after that, right? So at the end, it's like all of this is mine and none of it is yours, right? Then are you willing to get back with a person who in the end done that?
I know, right?
That's
Because you're seeing things this person is capable of. Now, there is a little moment at toward the beginning or while they're at the retreat where one of the characters is talking about they never seen Patricia mad before, but then I forgot which one of the guys said it. Maybe it was Terry, because I think he was like, "Oh, I seen her mad when she
in college or when he got caught.
When he got caught cheating or whatever it was with whoever
with
he was
some
cheating at, with
Hispanic
Latina.
lady, yeah.
And that she was mad then. So, I mean, I guess that was supposed to be the subtle preview as to what she would be like mad.
Yeah.
But, to see a person, I mean, I think that you don't see a person snap off like she did maybe ever in a lifetime. Like, that's the snap that is everything rolled in together. That is the snap for her baby being dead. That is the snap for her marriage being gone. That is the snap for him actually saying what he said and going to Mike of all people for comfort in his time of need and having it thrown in her face in an embarrassing way in front of other people. That is the snap for everything bad that has ever happened in her life. And so I don't think people snap like that on a regular.
Right.
Like, that was very significant. And I don't know, when you see what somebody's capable of, or, are you scared away? We just covered a thin line between love and hate, and talking about, the main character there.
He barely knew her though.
But if you see what somebody is capable of, that can be something to scare you off.
It depends on what they do. But if I've known them for 20 years and then they snap off, I'm like, dang, right? That's different.
It's maybe more, yeah. If they never did this before,
right? In a month, look what you done. Like, this gonna be very often.
So it makes me think. So maybe he'll forgive her. Like, she was going through a hard time.
Yeah.
I know her 20, 30 years, whatever it is.
But we don't even know what was behind the scenes either.
But then what about this though? Can she forgive him for choking because he got physical with her in where he wasn't going to try to let her leave. He started trying to kiss on her. It was the weirdest. It was just a bizarre scene.
The weirdest snap in the black movie.
Yeah, he was coming, and then he started bringing the liquor. He was drunk, and that was just I did not like that scene at all. But but to me, I think as far as putting his hands on her in ways that were just like no. I think that would also require some forgiveness on her end. Because you got to have some guarantees, if you will, that something like that could never happen again.
Yeah.
But so there's that. But let's talk a little bit about Gavin. So how did Gavin's... Okay, if we look at what actually happened, Gavin is gone. And that is what helped her to grow. Right, Patricia, to grow, because then after that, supposedly, she gets the therapy, she therapizes herself, whatever it is, to write this book, and now she's all healed because his death was like the impetus for her to do this work and unpack all of her baggage and deal with it. Right. Well, if he doesn't, then does she actually ever do that? And is she gonna confront herself and change without him being gone? Because the supposed self-reflection that comes from, where she's in the hospital and the other couples are there because they're all going through their stuff.
It came
and she's
after
like,
you kill somebody.
Shut up. She's like, fix it, and making them. So everything that happened up to this point and all the other couples, they're like, Gavin Gavin is dead.
But that was all. So she's like, fix it, because she was so-called toxic, right? You drove them to the point of this, right? Y'all
he just
was so bad
and didn't even look.
It's kind of like, this is going to happen to y'all too if y'all don't fix it.
But,
man.
but seriously.
And then it's like, yes, it's fixed.
So, and of course it wasn't fixed. There's no way you could just, now it's fixed and we all just hug and now, we're lighting the lights to remember Gavin. And that's
I don't know
it.
what she is, a psychiatrist, a therapist, something. Maybe both.
I think a psychologist with a PhD, I think is what she is.
Okay.
So, not a physician,
but she was
a therapist.
A life coach, a relationship coach or whatever.
So, but does she? So do you think that the thing she needs in order for her to actually do the work of unpacking her problems, her own faults, do you think that that's all because of Gavin? And if Gavin makes it, that she never does it?
Yeah.
Because like you said, she never writes the book.
Yeah, you never write the book. You never reflect. You just live with that hate in your heart and not trying to give him his money. If, the whole money thing still exists, right?
That hate in your heart reminds us of another movie we just covered, Colors.
Colors and He Got Game.
Both on the Axiom Amnesia channel, which is linked in the description. So let's talk about Gavin, though. You think Gavin could have found happiness after his marriage? Like, okay, so he makes it, they get divorced and everything. Is he going to be able to move on completely and maybe find a new relationship?
He found happiness.
Or, just... Does he stay single? Does he get married again and start hanging out?
How old were they when they
were in their
came
30s,
out?
Yeah,
you kind of old.
I think he listen at you. I think he dates somebody else and he gets married again, and I think he has an opportunity to find happiness.
I don't know. So I think it's more so if you need somebody at home. Like, so she didn't seem like a housekeeper woman, right? So I think if she had more of that role, then he would be more eager, right? Or be more apt to go and find somebody else to fill that void. But since it wasn't the case, then I don't think it really that likely.
I think that maybe I don't think he would be rushed to do it, right? So I think he probably need to exhale for a second.
Right? So,
oh, well, maybe. But imagine, like this was what I think would probably been hard. Imagine he does get with, another woman. He finds a nice lady to settle down with or whatever. She's introduced to the friend group in a way, but like it would be very awkward. I think even more awkward than Mike and Mike and Trina and Sheila and Troy, that whole dynamic, because they just had so much ugly water under the bridge. And I guess
Mike,
Sheila and Mike did too, because they had the whole DV thing that we didn't really know was going on in the first movie, but that we find out in the second movie, that Mike had been laying hands on Sheila at points in their marriage and stuff. But I don't know. I just think, but I do think that Gavin, his character seemed like he would have been open for love, because ultimately he was, even to the end, begging for Patricia to like love him back. So I don't think that the need for that and the willingness to give that goes away for him as his character. So I think
but it's for the one, not for anybody.
That's true too. I don't know, man. Y'all go to the comments. Is Gavin going to get remarried? Or does he just, kind of casually date or whatever? What does Gavin do? I vote that Gavin does get remarried. I think he could get remarried if they made it and he didn't get back with Patricia. And I think if he gets remarried, I think he has another baby too. Because the question I wondered is why they maybe didn't have another baby after this one. After the baby didn't make it, because that baby was pretty young.
Yeah, because maybe you fear the same thing or something similar.
Maybe, and maybe it's just the way
she never dealt with the
crumble.
First one.
Yeah, but I do wonder why that didn't happen. It was
wasn't
never
that part of the story.
No,
I don't know.
No, because the way we found out or kind of broached a lot of what happened in that first movie was with Diane talking about, basically that Terry wanted another baby and she didn't want to have another baby, and them having that whole conversation when they were shopping, right? And then she's like, oh, I'm sorry, is this hard for you to talk about or whatever, knowing that Patricia's, baby had died. But we never find out whether Patricia wants another child. Like this isn't something that ever is expressed, I think, because maybe she couldn't get far enough to even think about it after the loss of the baby. But I don't remember anything that indicated whether she actually wanted that. I think he would have been open to it, but I don't know. If they got back together, would Pat's career have still been a problem? As far as writing these books, doing these retreats?
I mean,
you know,
it depends on the whole money thing, because I don't know.
because they were
But I don't
pretty
know
rich.
about the retreats. You go back on another retreat where she just blurted out, "Hey, we're getting a divorce." So
Yeah, the retreats is probably over with.
I don't
But
know.
maybe she writes
no,
books
they
still.
keep doing them retreats. Like, what would stop them?
And then probably what is most likely to happen is to settle back into similar patterns.
Yeah.
Right? You just go back to doing what you did. You know, you had this bump in the road, but in the end, when you settle in, you're just kind of going to still be the same, maybe with just a little bit more information about the situation, or, you know, time having passed since the big blow up that makes it hard, you know, that made it impossible for them to be together in that moment, you know?
Yeah.
So do you think that Patricia was actually guilty of emotional neglect of Gavin? Because he kind of, that's how he felt, you know. Do you think he could have let go of his resentment that he built up for her? For that?
For what?
Or like abandoning him? Because that's basically how he felt emotionally abandoned.
I guess. I don't know.
How you think Patricia would have reacted?
Wait, you didn't answer?
Well, okay. So I do think that Gavin could have forgiven Pat. Yeah. I think that I think even up to the point where he screeched off, he still wanted to be with her. I think he still loved her. I think he was very angry and upset and mad. And I don't think, but to the point where he died, I don't think that it was beyond, you know, them getting back together on his end. The problem was always on her end. Because I think the biggest resentment was him blaming her feeling like he continued to blame her, and him blaming her at any point for this child's, you know, not being there, for their child not being there. I think that was the big thing. I think he was just like, love me, love me, love me. And he still felt like that even when she was tripping, which was kind of what made it hurt even more when they broke up. And he was angry. Right? I want this money. Then he goes snatch the money. So he was angry, but I think he would have taken her back, and I think he would have forgiven her. I don't think in the moments after he, I don't want to say got over his child, because I don't think you get over it, but after he got over the initial grief of losing his child, right? I don't think he even carried the blame with him. I don't think, when I look at him as a character, I don't think he was actively blaming her for the loss of the child. I think he just went through his stages of grief, and he accepted the child was gone after that, and he stayed with her. And I think he really did love her. Yeah, and I think he continued to love her. And the problem
is that ever a question?
What?
You say you think he really loved her.
Because so many times people question whether or not, you know, somebody really loves somebody, especially when they start coming for the money.
Yeah.
But I think that was just to hit her where it hurt, right? Because she was the one that was like, oh, you know, my money, you will not take my money. And you see it hit her where it hurt because.
Well, she said that after, so it ain't to hit her where it hurt, right? It's that we done this together and it's mine.
Yeah, which is why it would hurt her when he went and snatched it out the account after, you know, because he was, I think he was surprised. He was like, wait a minute, this money, what about the book money? Because he was aware it was, you know, it existed, but he was just like, yeah, we got to split that part too, right?
How is that even possible? That he can go and snatch it during a divorce?
The joint accounts. Yeah. You went on up to Chase, and they were just like, what was that? The family that prays. She was like, Mr. So-and-so, you have two accounts. Which account did you want to take the withdrawal from? And then he found out Sanaa Lathan's character had all that money up in the bank.
So they just do this on every Tyler Perry movie?
Tyler Perry, there's hidden money on every Tyler Perry movie.
No, that the man takes, though.
The man snatches the money. Is that there? Well, you know, I think that's supposed to be to make it even more egregious. The activities that the man does. So would Pat have regretted that divorce if Gavin moved on? Because imagine how Pat is going to be looking and feeling if she look up and Gavin got a new woman, and Gavin is now has, you know, and she's pregnant and has a baby and everything.
Why was she?
Because she going to be like, that was supposed to be my life. I don't know. The same reason why Mike was looking at Sheila Well, you said she wouldn't have the rock
Yeah,
because
maybe.
she gets the rock because she wrote the book
Yeah,
after
but,
he died.
Hey, I don't know
Maybe.
if that don't happen, right?
Maybe the rock still liked
She
her.
might still do it about the kid, right? Because she's just trying to do whatever to get some money. So she
That was
probably
her
write a book
hustle.
about that. Yeah. So then getting over the grief of her child. So you never know.
You know, but I do think that seeing Gavin in a happy, fulfilling relationship with somebody else, I think she would have regretted how things went with them. And I think it might have, if she hadn't done the work, it might have made her like backslide into, you know, into some kind of depression or whatever. But if they had survived, like what lessons, actual lessons, not the let's tie up the neat bow at the end of the movie lesson that we saw in the actual movie that played out, but like what real lesson do you think the other couples might have taken from their
Nothing,
marriage and
people
demise?
never learn lessons.
Not through other people. You just got to learn for yourself that fat meat is greasy, huh? I guess that's just human nature.
What did they learn from Mike and Sheila? Nothing.
Let me see. What did they learn from Mike and Sheila? Well, probably if they didn't already know that everybody was talking to their spouse. That should be the one thing that they all learned.
Okay.
But maybe that's not directly from their relationship.
But I don't know. They kept doing that though.
That's true. They just kept doing the same dynamic, you know? That was their dynamic and they just kept doing it. So, But yeah, so that is us talking about whether or not without that accident, Pat and Gavin could have met, you know, what the future would have looked like. Would they have stayed together or gotten back together, or would they have just stayed apart and pursued other things? So like, I think we're going to round it out and say, my vote is that without the accident, they do not get back together unless, which I think is a big unless Patricia does the work of getting herself together and getting the therapy she needs. And then some other things, the stars and the moon will still have to align at the right time and all of that. And maybe they could have a chance. Other than that, I see Gavin just moving forward on his own, eventually dating somebody else and probably, you know, having a new family with them.
Wow. Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I just think that it's like what typically happens. People break up, then they go and maybe get somebody else, and that's it.
And the friend group just gonna get bigger and messier.
Bruh.
just imagine how messy it would have gotten. But yeah, but this is like our 1900th video on Why Did I Get Married, the franchise. But there are always questions that come up. So if you have any other questions that we should be investigating, put them in the comments, and maybe this is something we'll talk about in the future.
And if you made it this far, go ahead and type Jermaine Dupree in the comments so we'll know you're one of the real ones who stick around to the end.
And be sure to check out one of the videos that's on the screen right now. And if you've seen that video already, go ahead, go to our page and click the videos tab or click the live tab, because we have a bunch of new stuff that we've put out over the last few months. Bye.